All right, welcome to the nitty gritty. I'm excited about today. This kind of came out of nowhere, this episode. So I started watching, just a little background before I introduce you to. I was watching, or I was on Hulu about a week ago, and looking for a new show to watch. And most people don't know that I have this like secret desire to live in the middle of nowhere and be a farmer, just because I'm sick of people.
You don't like people?
No.
Brand new information.
Everyone knows it. Well, I love people. I just don't like them all the time, or at least in big doses, right? I'm sure by the time you guys are done in Utah County on Tuesdays, when you come up here, it's like, oh, get me the hell out of here. Anyway, so landed on the show called American Farm, and right up my alley. So I hit play, and I ended up watching all 8 episodes in about 2 days. But one of the 5 families or farms that were featured in the show, because everyone was all 5 of these farms were all over the country, was in the metropolis of Chester, Utah. And I was all excited about that. And after one episode, I was like, I got to get these guys on the podcast. So I reached out, and we have Jenna and Jenna Madsen from Sunder Creek Farm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I shot a DM to Jenna. I saw that she was on. I finally found your social media this morning, Brett.
Yeah, I'm not big time Jenna.
You're a little harder to find.
Yeah,
all right.
That's okay.
And I just sent a DM and told her a little bit about the podcast, and they said they'd be in town on Tuesday. So here we are. We're going to talk farming. Basically, I just wanted free information so I could move into my next chapter of life and get out of this restaurant. Yeah. They're probably going, don't do it. I just love to be in failing industries, I guess, or difficult industries, not failing, like restaurant,
sure.
Same thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, farming's right up your alley, then.
I was going to say, I like watching the show. I'm excited to kind of talk about the show because I've done a little bit with TV with barbecue, and I definitely know there's a lot that's real. There's a lot that gets a little bit kind of
produced,
manufactured to create a story and a little bit of, whatever. But
like singing songs to rams.
Do they have to show you? Do they throw a few extra bucks your way to do that? That's
They
a scary
should've.
ram, man.
I should have made them do that before I agreed to do that. That was pretty ridiculous.
It wasn't in the contract, but he did it.
Oh my gosh! So how long has the farm been operating?
In Chester, my family moved down 40 years ago.
Okay.
They moved from Lehigh.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what brought that on?
Lehigh was just getting too big. And
this was 40 years ago?
Yeah.
Too big?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I like these people.
They sold way too soon.
I was
We'll
going to
say
say, man.
Just
Yeah,
south
they
of
missed-
Thanksgiving Point there.
They
don't
missed
know
the
that.
Thanksgiving Point boom.
From
but-
I-15 of the Jordan River.
Whoa.
that was your family's land, huh?
Mhm, yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. It's like Subdivision Central now.
And my family's been poor farmers ever since before me. 5th generation San Pete County guy. So
Really?
yeah.
How
Their family moved down and moved the dairy down there in San Pete Valley, and her dad and her uncle and her grandpa, really good farmers. They've had a really good farm, really hard workers. They've milked cows ever since. I mean, going back to your grandpa's day, they've been dairy farmers going way back when, 60 plus years. And then her dad and her uncle took it over and had it down there for the last 40. So
Wow. So they were farming here already in Lehigh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then moved down there.
They had a dairy farm, and then they moved the dairy farm down. And they have, like, when they moved there was still milk in the tanks and boots by the door. Like, they just,
Wow.
the people just picked up and left one day. And so they moved in, and they, redid everything. And then they built a new milk barn, and now we have the old milk barn as a pumpkin barn right now. We just redid it. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, and then they sold the cows. We no longer milk cows or have any
Right.
dairy cows, and we just do the turkeys and the hay and now pumpkins and a couple sheep.
How about that? I liked your idea. We'll get into the mini farm idea. But so how many kids are in your family?
There's 4 girls.
4 girls. And you guys have 4 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So our father-in-law is an egg farmer. So they've got 3 big egg farms in Washington, Utah, So it's been kind of interesting to see what kids wanted to stay in the family, because it's what, third or fourth generation now. And our father-in-law just retired, but there's not one child involved with the farm anymore. They had
Really?
6 kids. Well, none of his, right.
Yeah.
There's other family members, but what made you want to stay in the farm life?
Oh, that's a really great question.
Well, thank
and
you.
one I have pondered because
A stupid husband.
somehow I tricked Brett into staying on the farm, and I never really envisioned it when I was little that I would be the one to stay, but I got to a point where I realized I just love it there, and I just wanted to see it keep going to the next generation. And my dad always farmed with his brother, and so we were kind of all together, and then they split, and now it's my dad and us. And it's just something I just want to see it still keep going, and I want to keep the farm together.
So you like it?
I love
you
it.
love doing it?
Really,
It looks like you do.
I really love it.
Have you always loved it?
No.
Like, was there a time where it was like, get me out of here? And then you
I
kind
used
of came
to
back
hide
around?
like in the house with reading Harry Potter so that my dad wouldn't make me go out and move sprinklers. And yeah, there was a time when that was not for me. But then I grew up and I realized, you know what? This is a pretty cool way of life, and I do like it.
Very
awesome.
cool. And you grew up farming, Brett, right?
My family had a big sheep operation back before I was born. My grandpa sold out, but growing up, we always had 10 acres of farm ground. We had a few cows, and we always had horses, and we're always active in agriculture and things like that. But growing up on a farm, my dad was actually a coal miner growing up, and we just kind of did a little bit of farming on the side, but nothing to the extent of what Jenna grew up on.
Right.
And so growing up in a community, I had family members with turkey farms, and so we were always involved working on the farms, in the community, and just something you grew to love. And when I was in high school, we started dating, and her dad kept bugging me, come move sprinkler pipes for him and come work on the farm.
Really?
So I started working on the farm.
I think my dad wanted him close to keep an eye on him, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. When
That's smart,
17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
And you were dating at this
we were
time.
dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
He for
And
sure
so-
was trying to keep tabs on you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or hope there'd be a farming accident of some kind.
Yeah.
Get rid of you. I think that's what I would do.
I think he was he knew he had 3 son-in-laws that wasn't going to come in on the farm, so I think he was really looking for that son-in-law that would come be on the
Interesting.
farm.
That's cool. Yeah, it's true. 4 daughters. So, yeah, get one married in
Yeah.
to help out.
Yeah, so we worked on the farm in high school, and then while I was at Snow College playing football, we came up, worked on the farm in the summers, and I helped him out then. And then we got married, went to the University of New Mexico, and played football for 2 years down there. And while we were down there, he approached us, and he said, "Hey, listen, I want you to come back on the farm, work full-time." And, living in Albuquerque, man, I was like, oh, hell, get me the hell home.
Really, when we grew to
Get
love
me
the
back
farm.
to San
When
Pete
we
County.
lived in the war zone.
And it
of
could go both
Albuquerque.
ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people, they get away and they don't really want to go back. But, I mean, you definitely chose the right direction.
Yeah. Well, we loved our time in Albuquerque, and it was a great experience for us.
It was.
But she was pregnant with our child, and after, getting out, seeing the country, and it's like, man, we want to raise our family in San Pete County. So
Right.
it wasn't a hard thing to convince me to come back and have our family and raise it in Chester. So
That's awesome. So how big's the farm? How many acres is it?
1,000
About
acres.
1,000?
1,000 acres. Holy moly.
And then so her dad owns 1,000 acres. We have 6 acres where our house is, and then she does the mini farm there, the pumpkin patch.
Right.
And then we own a turkey farm in Nephi.
Oh, so that turkey farm's not on your property?
No, it's not on our property. Her dad broods the turkeys, so they're babies.
Right.
And he's got 3 brooder barns on the farm, and then we move them out to our farm in Nephi. So I'm back and forth from Chester to Nephi
Okay.
farming and
Join
trying
a
to
big
make it
city
work.
once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while.
I love it.
How many birds do you guys have on the farm?
So I'll raise 60,000 heavy toms
Okay.
at one point. Right now, they're 42-pound heavy toms just going to market.
Getting ready
And
for
I
Thanksgiving.
contract with Norbest.
That's who I use. That's
So-
all. We do turkey breast here.
So,
it's all
hey,
Norbest.
A lot of
Really?
that turkey
Yeah.
breast
It's
could
the
come
best.
from my farm. So
That's way cool.
Yep.
See, and I love being able to, because that's the one meat I know for sure is Utah from start to finish.
high quality.
Right, it's great
It's a great
stuff.
product.
But man, that's a crazy anything with meat. It's a crazy business,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it's
Volatile
crazy.
market. I mean, I would say besides beef, that's the only other thing that I really have to watch as far as my pricing swinging out of just nowhere
Yeah.
or shortage. There wasn't that a few years ago. There was a big, just some disease going through a bunch of turkeys, and
Yeah.
we
A
had
lot of issues.
Norbest had to get rid of a bunch of birds, didn't they? Because I couldn't get Norbest. I remember for like a month.
Now, probably just a short supply.
Okay,
Because I know that they had a lot of contracts in place and they didn't have enough turkeys.
right.
I mean, we raised everything we could raise, but I know that they were short. You couldn't get meat down to the store for a while.
Okay.
That's probably what happened. We did have some issues with some getting enough from the hatcheries, the eggs or not the eggs, but the chicks that were hatched. But right now, we don't seem to have any problems. It keeps flowing pretty well.
So the show said it was kind of a new thing. The turkey, I mean, I imagine just trying to diversify the farm maybe a little bit. I mean, is that what kind of brought that on? And how does that, just so people kind of understand, what I almost gathered was you guys provide the facilities and you raise the birds, but the birds are coming from somebody else. Is that
So
true or not?
Norbest owns the turkey,
Right.
and we're a contract grower.
Okay.
So they own the turkey, they own the feed, they supply us with those. Our job is we take our facility, we have the best animal practices. We
Don't
raise
you hate that you have to throw that in there?
I was going to ask about that.
You know-
because
Yeah.
our father-in-law, we've seen so much regulation come
Yeah.
down the pipe the last 10
and there's
years.
so much misinformation out there
So
that
much.
people have a different perspective about what farmers do,
Right.
and they think, oh, you get these birds, you're throwing them so tight in these barns, and you're mistreating them and this and that. But it's like, man,
Who cares? They're so stupid. Come on. Like,
but it's like, no, we give
I
these
get
turkeys,
trouble.
we give them fresh. I mean, I got heaters in there.
your
I got
water system?
oh yeah, watering system, water sanitation
Better water
system.
than we do.
And when
They
it's
really
100
do.
degrees outside, I've got these high pressure fogger systems, and we'll throw that mist with those fans,
Right.
and it's wonderful in there, man. And
swamp coolers.
And I'm doing some free range organic right now. I open the doors to give those turkeys the option to go outside.
Right.
They don't want to go outside. They want to stay where it's comfortable, And so we have these regulations we
hippie
have
that.
to follow,
Right.
and we follow those guidelines so we can label our products for those things,
Oh, that's crazy.
so we can sell at these markets.
Right.
And, we really do make sure that our animals are taken care of and they got a comfortable life, while we have them. And
The facilities look amazing. I mean, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. They're pretty new. Aren't
And when
they?
we get the babies, those barns are clean.
They look like it.
Yeah.
They're bright. They're super. That looked like a stressful. In the show, you guys get a delivery of, I think
Like
it was 14,000
14,000
birds, chicks. And it
Yeah.
was just watching you guys like place them and kind of move down the line.
yeah, and that's one barn. We'll typically get
Right.
50,000,
Wow.
in a day.
That's crazy.
So is that how most turkey farms work, where you don't actually own the birds, you're just growing them? Is that how it usually works in that space?
So it used to be we was Moroni Feed Company.
Okay.
We were a co-op, and we owned Norbest and all the facilities, and so then we could do profit shares and get dividends as growers. But the market got so tough, and we wasn't doing well financially, so we sold our share as a company, and so now we're a contract grower. So now there's another company that owns Norbest. They own the facility. So basically, we just signed a contract to grow the turkeys for them. And that just changed within the since this show, this was the first year we was on a contract.
And there was
when
a
they filmed
lot
the show.
of it was kind of up in the air. We
Right.
just were really unsure of how it was going to go. And it was scary because when you're farming, there's just so much overhead and debt. And,
Right.
and when it's all kind of tied together, it just gets really nerve wracking.
Well, it's not like you're getting paid all the time either, right? I mean, it's just harvest. I imagine, like, once you're selling birds off, it's not like you necessarily know what's coming or, when and what, right? Because
Typically
that market fluctuates,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Well, and typically 3 paychecks a year
Right.
with a heavy tom flock, and sometimes it's tough to
3 checks a year?
Yeah,
Really?
to stretch that money
Sure.
to operate your business for employees, insurance. I mean, my electrical bill, I'm paying $6,000 a month to keep the power on.
Right.
And so there's a lot of overhead cost, and so it's stressful to make that penny stretch until that next flock where you can get another paycheck, and then you got your loan payments and your taxes that you got to pay, and that they're fixed costs that are there every year, no matter if you make money or not, and so
For sure.
And no matter if you're given birds or not.
Wow. See, that's the other thing. There's one part I showed these guys before. There's one part that got me like fired up. It was when you and your father-in-law were talking to the dude with the contract.
yeah, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
And he just passed it, like your father-in-law is trying to kind of explain why he's a little wary about it. And he just passes him a pen right in the middle of it, like,
Yeah.
okay, shut up, just sign it.
Yeah,
My dad's like, okay.
okay.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that made me so mad. I was like, geez, just let the guy talk.
Yeah.
How many years have you done turkeys then?
So we sold the dairy cows. Well, I guess we were still milking cows when we bought the turkey
Because
farm.
it was like 2010.
2009 is when we
2009,
bought
you're
the
right.
farm.
Stop fighting, you guys.
2010 was the first year of full production on that farm.
Wow.
And then we sold the dairy cows. Was it 2012?
12. Mm-hmm.
We sold the dairy cows, and so that was kind of we was kind of in an ultimatum with the farm. So we had her uncle and her cousin, and then me and her dad that was on the farm full time. And there was kind of they could see the writing on the wall. The dairy industry is so volatile, so tough. I mean, it's up and down, and it's a tough business. And we got this facility, we got a really nice milk barn, but then our corrals and everything's it's old.
Right.
And so in order to stay in the business,
You have to
her
upgrade
dad
everything.
or her uncle looked at it like, okay, we got to throw $1 million into this
Yeesh.
and making and find housing for our cows, or we got to get out.
Right.
And so,
Or start growing almonds.
in
That's
Sam,
what
good
everyone's
luck.
drinking now, right?
Yeah. Some soy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that, and we were already into the turkey business, but we bought that farm and expanded and got big time in the business.
Gotcha.
And then eventually we phased out of the dairy. That's kind of how we ended up where we ended up.
So what does it look like life cycle of a turkey with you? I mean, you get them, like how long do you have them before you're selling them off?
So, they'll hatch at the hatchery.
Yeah.
They'll sex them. They can determine the sex, I guess, right when they're hatched.
So they'll figure out what gender they are.
Yep. And then they'll.
Gonna say.
Yep.
That
They don't have a choice.
sounded like something. I was like,
Yeah.
they'll sex them. What do you mean?
Yeah. They sex them. They determine the sex, and they don't have a choice.
Industry
Right.
talks a
You know,
little
because
different.
the liberal media is not there to tell them if they're male or female. So.
Right.
And then they'll, if we're getting a tom flock, hen flock, they'll separate those, put them on the truck. They get to us within 24 hours of hatching.
Wow.
And they typically come from Iowa, Minnesota,
Why?
where the big hatcheries are at.
Why do they need to get them so fast to you?
They were hatched. They give them a little supplement to keep them hydrated and that, but then they got to get them quick because they haven't
Food
had
and
food and water.
Okay.
So they're new. They get them to us. We throw them in the barns. We got feed and water ready for them, and they hit the ground and they start growing like crazy.
Wow.
And they are cute.
They thrive.
They are pretty cute. I
They're
will
cute
say, when you
little
guys were
things.
unloading
Cute.
those things, I was like, I'm surprised the kids aren't super distracted just playing with those little things.
They look like chickens.
Yeah, you really can't tell a difference in their chicks.
Because we've seen the chickens
Yeah.
up
Oh,
at the
yeah.
egg farm.
Millions of them.
Yeah.
And when they're brand new like that, I didn't notice any difference in them.
Yeah, so we'll get those chicks. They'll be in the brooders in the Chester farm, and her dad will run those for me, and we'll pay him to brood those, and he'll raise them for 5 weeks, and they'll be that little chicklet that you can hold in your hand
Right.
they'll be 2 pounds, pretty decent sized turkey, in 5 weeks.
Right.
You know,
Wow.
and then we throw them in trailers. We have these trailers with crates. We put them in, and then we'll back them in my barns, and then we open them and dump them, and then they just kind of fly out and go to the grow out facility, and we'll keep them there till 20, 21 weeks. And right now I'm actually in the process of taking them to market, 44 pounds. So
wow.
imagine
they go from 2 pounds to 44 pounds in 20 weeks.
in 20 weeks. Well, no, they go from 6 ounces or whatever they are, 4 ounces to 42 pounds in 20 weeks.
Oh yeah, 5 weeks to 20. So 15 weeks is that
Yeah.
spread? That's how long you have them.
So
in
I'll
your
have
farm.
them on my farm for 15 weeks.
Okay.
And it's amazing that the genetics and the feed conversion. So on a flock of turkeys, I'll feed, a lot of farmers, they'll look at it in feed conversion aspect. So I'll feed that turkey 2.5 pounds of feed throughout its lifetime. For every 2.5 pounds of feed it ate, it converted 1 pound of meat.
Wow.
So it's pretty efficient, very efficient on how
Crazy
you
you
can
know that. Like just to have all that information. Like just seeing how I imagine with farming, it's like the technology aspect of it now is pretty amazing. Like the water system that you guys, you're adding, probiotics, and you can see exactly what they're drinking. It's all
Yep, I got everything's on a water meter, so you know what the birds are consuming.
right.
I've got a computer that controls that barn. It'll tell the heat to come on. I can
That's
change
crazy.
the fans for ventilation. There's alarm systems. If feed or water runs out, it'll alarm me, call me on the phone. And so it's pretty amazing.
It's amazing, but we don't really ever go on vacation because the
can't.
computer
You can't,
is
yeah.
on the phone
Yeah.
and stuff we have to do at from thousands of miles away on the
Wow.
computer.
I'll be laying in bed at 3 a.m, and number 4, the feed line, and all these little switches turn feed, and sometimes they get stuck.
Right.
So then I got to call my hired man. Hey, go to barn number 4. You got to fix that feed thing, And so he's up a lot of times, middle of the night, just running, making sure things are working. And you never sleep. It's agriculture, and it's what you do when you raise animals. It's
Right.
just part of the game.
I mean, father-in-law. That's how it was. I mean,
Christmas morning, he was at
he
the
could stop. Bird's gonna lay an egg every 26 hours.
coming no matter what.
Yep.
So you guys met in so I want to kind of back up. So you guys met in high school, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the dynamic like with the in-law thing, right? Like I think it's a gutsy thing because I don't know that I could ever work. I dig my father-in-law. He's cool, and it's funny. He reminds me a lot of your dad, but I don't know that I could work with him. So. But it's not just in-laws. Like you're the youngest, right, Jenna?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So has that ever been stressful for you? Because you have your dad and you
Yeah.
have your husband.
Yes, always. I mean, honestly, when they were interviewing us for the show, it was like they talked to me about that forever. So what's it like being in the middle of your dad and your husband? And the short answer is it's hard sometimes. But me and my dad think so much alike. Like I always understand where he's coming from and like what his thought process is. And I've been married to Brett long enough that I know the same with him. So
Right.
I really can be a good middle place to be like, well, no, this is what I think actually he meant by that,
Oh, that's
and like,
so stressful though to have to deal with that stuff.
yeah.
Because two type A personalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that there's times where there's some disagreements, and I think that'd be kind of hard because you have your husband. It's like you can't choose your dad over me. I'm your husband.
Yeah.
But it's really hard
Cleave
to
unto
kind
your
of.
husband.
Yeah.
I show her the scripture all the time.
You don't know how many times I've heard that.
I need to use that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Oh my gosh.
No, but her dad's great. I mean, no, it doesn't matter who you work with. I'm sure you two brother-in-laws have disagreements on this podcast, and sometimes you're cussing each other.
Never.
Liar.
Just kidding.
Liar.
But, in the end, I mean, me and her dad's super easygoing, really just a good guy. I mean, he very understanding. He's really easy to get along with. Now, her mom, on the other hand,
Uh-oh.
we want to get in the mother-in-law train.
Yeah, why
She
wasn't on
causes
the
all
show?
kinds
Okay,
of
the
problems.
problem with my mom
But
and
I love
Brett,
her. I love her.
no,
We're-
they are the same person.
we're too much
I'm not
alike.
even kidding.
She says we think like, So we clashed.
I'm
We're
like,
too much
why
alike.
have I surrounded myself with the same personality? But I have.
We all have a tendency to do that, I think, right? I mean, that's funny. So any good stories? Any recent news
hell.
stories?
So now we're running the pumpkin patch. And bless her heart, she helps us so much. She watches our kids. She's the best. Like, really, we couldn't do it without her because she does so much, and she's a go-getter. But she is the boss, man. I'll tell you. She comes out to the farm 3 days a year, and all those 3 days a year she's on the farm, you better do what she says. But
Oh man.
no, on the pumpkin patch, she's pretty bossy, and sometimes I just have to roll my eyes and just
Sometimes he just has to leave. For a
yeah,
minute.
we got to leave for a little while, but
And
we
that's
get along.
hard, right? 'Cause
Hey,
it's
we
like,
love her.
normally you can just say, "Well, you just get the hell out of here," but you work together.
We need
You're
her.
married to
we
her,
need her help.
right? And you all live in the same general,
Yeah,
through the
we're
field
area,
from
right?
each other.
Yeah, across
less
the
than a
field.
mile away.
Right. So that's tough. So I mean,
It's
that's
hard.
a blessing that you guys get along, because that'd be hard, especially where it's, if I put myself in your dad's shoes. It's like, hey, I've been running this thing
Yep.
for however
Worked
many
his whole
years,
life for it,
right?
Mm.
And you have somebody come in, like, you can get away with anything because you're the baby, right, Jenna?
Right,
Like,
right.
I think of my kids in that situation. But then you have the son-in-law come in, Division I athlete. You are not a pushover. Like, you're a type A personality, I'm sure. And so that's got to be
Pretty stubborn sometimes.
hard, right?
Yes, no, it's for sure. And it used to be harder, like, because we would work all day together, vacation together, go to church
I couldn't
together.
go on a vacation without him.
Family parties
I love it.
together.
Me and my brothers love to go hunting.
Right.
Okay, I'd go hunting. Man, I would get crucified. But I'd go on a vacation with their mom and dad, and it wasn't a problem.
Double standard.
But it's gotten better over the years.
It has gotten better. That is
It's
one
gotten
thing
better over the
we
years.
can
When we
say.
first started, the first few years, it was rough, man. It was rough.
That's hard. Like, being married's hard enough, but working together, living near each other, I mean, you got to
A lot of extra dynamic in there.
right, and you got to work hard at that.
But I think we're to the point now where at first it was harder, but now we can communicate a lot better,
Right.
and we can express our feelings a little more, and and I'm not the one. I can't be micromanaged. Drives me crazy,
Right.
and so I've kind of had to pull away and do my thing. He does his thing, and I'll come help him. I'd run the turkey farm, and then I've grew a few acres of hemp that I'm doing right now, and then we do the pumpkins. And Scott, he's always great to come in and help us when we need help. And then, I'll try to go. I bale a lot of the hay. I'll haul a lot of the hay in the semi down to to the hay markets and things like that. And so we work well together. And I can't do it without him. And obviously we use his land and
Right.
a lot of these other things. And
Does that ever get held over your head?
they're
Like,
pretty good at that.
That's good. 'Cause
They're
that'd
great.
be a hard thing too.
They really are good.
Wow. There
Now-
could be a lot of drama here.
But-
If,
but in the
I
end-
imagine it's a
She needs to get her together and write her book that she's got planned.
Oh my gosh, the book
make
that
this
will,
pumpkin
that will
patch
pay
make
off
money.
the farm.
Because in the end, she's going to save the farm and save her dad, and so her dad can retire.
that's so cool.
Right,
so
Correct.
I like so let's talk about the pumpkin patch.
Mm-hmm.
So in the show it is there's you've got to make some extra money up. That's
Mm-hmm.
So your idea was to do kind of a corn maze, pumpkin patch, just something to bring people to the farm and make a few extra bucks. So how'd that
Yes.
come about?
Oh gosh, we became friends with a lot of farmers. Actually, we joined Farm Bureau. We became
Okay.
friends with a bunch of farmers, and the one part about the turkeys is when we get babies, it's a really big family time. Everybody can help. But at the grow out farm where Brett works most of the time, it's not family friendly. It's super clean,
Those heavy
sanitation.
toms will eat a kid.
And
Yeah.
if ever I even
Mean birds.
if
Oh,
I
yeah.
walk through there, they're coming at me with their tail feathers up. So it's just, I just missed that part of the farm for my kids. You know, I got to go out and feed the cows with my dad and sit on the wheel lines and move the sprinklers with him. And my kids were just, I felt like they were getting shafted with the turkey farm. And I was like, we need to do something that makes us a real farm family, you know, not this just a big farm that the kids don't get to enjoy. Right. So I decided pumpkins was going to be the thing that we'd try. And because I could kind of see where it could go. First, we'd just start with selling pumpkins, and then it could be something where we could open up our farm. Right. And so we did the pumpkin thing. I grew them. I sold them. I sold I sold them just in a little stand off to the side of our house, and people came and they bought pumpkins, and I was like, okay, see, people will buy it if you do it. Right. And then
back it up. Before that, your dream was to open up the patch.
Yes, well, for sure. That was.
But you started with the pumpkins.
And I wanted to do the corn maze the next year, and nobody believed in it. And so, I
was going to ask you that. How was the idea received when you?
Not at all. You can't grow corn in Sanpete, not in North Sanpete, anyways, and you can't. We don't have late water, so your corn's gonna get 3 feet tall and then stop. It's scary to bring people on your farm. There's liability. You know, I heard all these things. Right. And I was like, no, like we can do it. And so I went another year of just planting pumpkins. And then the show came up. And honestly, I've been asked so many times why we applied for the show.
That was my first question, because it's not like typical small town farmer that wants to go on a big show.
Right.
Get in the limelight.
Yeah. Or like even like having cameras on your farm is just like a big thing you don't really want, you know? So it was,
especially
I get asked that.
Guys, huh? They're the worst. Some weird dudes.
So I think that really the reason was I could see that it was the only way I was going to get the pumpkin patch that I wanted. So we did the show.
So how'd you hear about the show?
We got an email through Farm Bureau that they were looking for farms to cast for the show. And we got the email and they were replying to everybody, so we could see like people's replies coming in, and we weren't mentioned once. Like we weren't on everybody's top of their choice. But I was like, you know what? I think our farm is pretty enough and has diversity and different dynamics. Yeah, too. I was like, I think that we could have a good chance of getting it.
Right. What were they looking for? Did they give you like criteria that they wanted the farm or family to have?
They told us that they were the same producers that had been doing Deadliest Catch and Ice Road Truckers.
Bering Sea, Gold. I love those shows.
And they were looking for the process and to show what farmers went through, kind of like how they show what the crab guys go through, trying to show what farmers went through. And was there anything else? I mean, that was kind of it. It was there was like a page about it, but that was basically the gist of it.
So when you applied, how mad was everybody else that you applied?
Well, I did tell my dad. I was like, so I'm going to apply for this show. Like, do I have your blessing? Because I think I already sent it.
Always better to ask forgiveness than permission.
And my dad's super open-minded. So he was like, yeah, I mean, do it. See what they say. And then when they called us and they wanted to do the Skype interview, you know, then they were like, "Gal, do you know what this means?" If you know, then everybody was like a little more nervous, and then they called us back and they were like, "Hey, you're like top 6. We're going to come out and meet you guys." And so then, but the whole time everybody was like a little fearful, just that little bit of like, we're like opening up ourselves to be really vulnerable right now. But everybody was pretty positive about it, I would say.
So how long was the filming, you know, over how long of a time were they there?
They came in April,
the
beginning of April, and they didn't leave till the first week of November.
Whoa.
And were they with you all day, every day?
They did take 1 month off.
Yeah, they're in the summer.
They took July off.
They took the month of July off. But yeah, they was with us pretty much day and night. The one cool thing, so Peter Bicknell, he was our producer that came. and he filmed a lot of Bering Sea Gold and a lot of Deadliest Catch.
Okay.
So he'd tell us a lot of cool stories, but cool guy. He was a veteran. He served in Iraq back in early 2000s. So he had some cool stories, but really cool guy, became a really good friend of mine. So I really enjoyed hanging out with him all day. Like
Right.
we had a lot of fun, you know,
Right.
and they're some LA guys, and they would love to come shoot guns and shoot rock chucks, and they loved it. They absolutely loved
I
it.
think they're judging the rest of the year. Like, guns?
Yeah. Oh, they loved it.
We turned one of the producers into a stone
He
cold
never-
rock chuck killer.
Yeah, he never shot a gun his whole life, and I have a 17 HMR, and
Oh
I was
my
like, "Here, dude,
gosh.
take my gun." Give him a box of bullets. I said, "Just go shoot all you want, you know, whenever." So I didn't see my gun all summer. I think he killed 50 or 60 rock chucks that summer,
You're
and,
kidding.
and he was having a time of his life. He's like, "You've turned me into a stone cold killer." But no, that aspect was fun. But when backing up a little bit, so they came out, and this guy, his name's Tom Beers. He's the producer.
Right.
He's the mastermind of Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, he's the big. You see
And,
him all over the place.
Yeah, he come to our house and sat down and had dinner with us, and he always started hearing all these stories, and it's like, oh, this guy's kind of a big deal, you know. But anyway, it was a fun experience, and in the end, it was fun to tell our story.
Right.
And I feel like we have a responsibility because there's so much misinformation out there. People have this stigma
sure.
about factory farm and factory farming, and they're evil, and you know, it's like 95% or even maybe higher, I don't know the statistic, but I know it's a really high percentage of all the farms where the food is produced is family-owned farms like ourselves, struggling families that work their butts off to make a living, that, you know,
And
make a
ultimately
high-quality
put food on the
product.
table.
Right. Well, it's got to be such a moving target because, I mean, it is all about what the consumer's buying at the time. You know, it's, I imagine you guys grew some organic, it was alfalfa, right?
Yeah, didn't go nowhere.
Right.
Freaking waste of time.
But I mean, that's got to be interesting after, you know, like your dad doing it for as long as he has, just to kind of see, kind of like the dairy cows, right? I mean, I know like milk consumption is way down, at least dairy milk consumption.
Right.
So what do you think right now is, I mean, I know this is a really broad question, but what do most people don't understand about what farmers deal with, right? Or what's the biggest hurdle that farmers have nowadays? Besides the obvious of COVID and all that crap. But
I'd say the debt load. So in order for, especially the generational transfer,
right.
that's probably one of the most difficult things in agriculture because, you know, like her dad, let's use him an example. So his dad farmed for all these years.
Right.
Well, you don't have money to just go buy the farm from your mom and dad.
Sure.
And how are they going to retire? A farmer doesn't have retirement. They have their assets.
Right.
And so they can't just give the farm to their kids. So in her dad's scenario with his brothers, they did a buyout where they would pay mom and dad so much, basically they could survive until they die, and then they get the farm type deal. But they made payments, and they basically bought the farm from their dad. And, you know, here we are, where her dad, how old's your dad, 63?
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, 34, 30, almost 35 years old. It's like, how are, you know, we've been working on the farm now for 15 years full time. So it's, how are we going to have enough equity to buy this? You can't, you don't.
Right.
And we're already up in debt up to our eyeballs. And that's probably the biggest challenge.
I mean, like a personal challenge for sure, but like farming in general, not only do you have all these farmers going through succession planning and just trying to get the farm to make it to the next generation, on top of that, you just have all the media attention to food that makes it even more difficult, where people want to buy organic. So, okay, we'll try organic, but we only, I mean, in some organic spaces, you only get 40% of your crop that you would normally get if you could spray out the weeds.
You just don't have the tools to.
And so how do you even, you know, it's even harder to make a living and to make it work with only 40% of your crop. You know what I'm?
Right.
Does that make sense?
And
totally.
Government regulation. Throw
Right.
that on there. In the Obama administration, the Waters of the U.S. rule came out.
But what was it called?
It was called WOTUS,
Well, okay.
Waters of the U.S. It basically, then it passed and it was into law under the Obama administration, and Trump vetoed it or whatever. So it's not on the books anymore. But basically what it was is the federal government said if there is a little stream or any waterway, it's now federal government property. And the federal government can come in and dictate what the most beneficial use of that water is. So your water right and your right to private property and your water is part of that. If you own that water, that's your private property. Yep. And the government basically dictated they're going to come in and tell you what you can do with that water.
Damn.
And I know it was
their rule. I mean, the wording, the way they worded it was what was really terrible, because it was like basically if you could float a rubber ducky on it, that was considered waters of the U.S. And people were like, I have swells in my field that you could float maybe even
Right.
a little boat on when it's really rainy, so they took it
That's
way
wild.
too far, and it got really scary there for a little while.
Yeah, luckily that's not a thing anymore. Trump, his administration, and I think Mike Lee and some other guys were some key players in making sure that went away. But,
Nobody hears about
for
that
example,
with Trump, do they?
That's an
Right?
example.
That's a good
there.
thing for farmers.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the thing.
For
You got
sure.
all the help you can get, I'm sure. And so, especially with water. I mean, man, it's been a rough year water-wise around here, and I'm sure that affects you guys quite a bit.
Yeah, we rely there in our valley 100% on snowpack.
Okay.
2009, let's see what.
It was the year of the show was when it
Yeah, the year of the show we had a really poor winter. So
Right.
the
What
winter
year
of
was the show?
2018.
18 is when it filmed,
18.
right?
Yeah.
18.
Oh yeah, and then it aired in
Right.
2018.
So that winter of 18, terrible winter.
Right.
Really drought year. The winter of 19 was a great winter. We had a ton of water. Last year was a great year, and then this year is worse than 18.
It's crazy how dry it's been.
It's
this
just been
summer.
a dry, terrible
Like, we
year.
haven't had any rain, snow, nothing since, I feel like, February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And since we got decent snow, but since there was no spring rain,
Right.
as it was melting, the mountain just sucked it all in.
Right.
It just didn't come down
no
to us.
runoff.
And it
There's
was
so many
windy.
variables.
That wind just evaporated a lot of it off. So
So that's wild. And I think that's what people probably don't realize with farming is, well, it's just like your birds. I mean, you just never know what curveball is. The second you think that you've got it dialed in and humming along, a law changes.
Yeah.
Or a market fluctuates.
Crappy snow.
Right. I mean, disease for the bird. There's just so many things. And so, and you know, like the bird thing would be kind of stressful too, just because if anything happened to those birds, you're spending the money to raise them, but they're not there at the end of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
You're
it
not
was
getting
really
paid,
stressful when like the avian flu was kind of a scare a few years ago.
Right.
And
I remember that.
we would just see the birds fly over, and you can't put up nets to catch bird poop falling down. It was just like really stressful for a while.
Yeah, and that was the year we had a big shortage, just not enough hatchery,
Right.
not enough birds being hatched in hatcheries because of this avian influenza.
Right.
And that's probably when you had a shortage for bam
Yeah,
bams.
it was shortage and prices went crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest part of filming the show? Like having everyone around, or
I think the hardest part, and I'm going to speak for you, Jenna, is at night. She would come in and say, "Oh, honey, what did you say? Did you say something?"
Oh
Or-
my gosh, that is true.
And a cow, the best is, so we're like, when you work with cows, they can be mean or whatever. And the one cow took after her dad, and he had a board in his hand and hit her over the head and, "You bitch." And anyways, Jenna was like, "Oh," and they actually aired that,
Right.
No, his
I remember.
nephew, his sister's son said that whatever my dad said, the exact wording, he said it in the car to his little sister. And his mom was like, "What did you just say?" And he's like, "Well, Scott said it." Really bad moment to be caught on film.
Yeah.
See, and that's the other hard thing right now is just how PC everything is, right? Because you
Yeah.
do have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you got a 1,000-pound animal charging at you and you're scared that you hit it with a board.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if a human was charging you, wanting to beat you up, You hit it with a bat.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a big deal, but the whole animal thing is, I don't get it.
That
right?
was really
Yeah.
the most stressful part.
There's no common sense anymore, really. There's really not. But that was the stressful part is, did we represent agriculture in a positive way? I mean, we felt like we had a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, and we didn't want to put us as farmers in a bad light.
Right. Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I didn't think about that. Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's funny. I've always thought, because so many of these industries are getting so much attention with, you know, like Deadliest Catch. Just there's so many jobs that are really interesting to watch. And I've always thought farming, just with all the curveballs, the laws, the equipment, there's just so much. I mean, there's farming simulator video games, right?
You're right.
My daughter
kids
loves them.
play those.
And so, I mean,
They're pretty realistic, too.
they're crazy.
Yeah, they're cool.
And so I'm surprised there haven't been more shows like American Farm, because I thought it was a really interesting thing to watch. And so, but yeah, as far as representing farmers everywhere, that's a
heavy weight.
That's a heavy weight for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you guys love about farming? I know it's got to be a headache and stressful all the time. Like you never know when the alarms are going to go off. No vacation, but you're still doing it.
Yeah.
So why?
At the end of the day, when you just took 1.5 million pounds of turkey meat and it's going to go out to the world and feed, and it's like, man, we raised that flock. We're feeding the world. In the end of the year, when we pick 5 acres of pumpkins and you've seen all the pumpkins we picked, and all of a sudden they're gone. People bought them and they're sold, and it's like, man, we made money. Like it's a sense of accomplishment,
Sure.
and all that hard work. It really is it pays off at the end of the day. But with all those bad days throughout the year and all the hard work, come fall when all that comes to pass, it's a sense of accomplishment, and it makes it all worth it in the end.
Right. What about you, Jenna?
I personally love feeling it. For me, it's a feeling. I feel the growth of everything around me. It's, being in nature day in and day out. I feel like that's really calming and peaceful. And especially this time of year, it gets to be evening time, and you can feel like everything that you've done all year round, just like you said. But for me, it's just more about being in touch with what you grew in the earth and kind of having that sense of nature and accomplishment, I guess, as well.
That's got to be the coolest feeling, just to plant hundreds of acres of just even alfalfa, right? Have it grow, bale it up. I mean, although there's no worse job on earth than hauling hay. Oh,
That's why have you seen our hay hauler in the show?
oh, that thing was awesome.
So that makes it easy.
Way easy.
But we do still got a little baler,
right.
and we don't have a bale wagon.
Oh.
And so we still have to do that bucking hay, and I buck and hate bucking hay. There's not a worse job.
There's
And
nothing
even we even do
worse.
straw. We'll do 400 or 500 little bales of straw,
Right.
and they're light. They're not heavy, but it's just so damn hot and humid in August.
And you
and
got to
it
wear sleeves.
sucks.
It gets in your shirt.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have to
I'm a
haul hay
lazy
lot.
farmer. I'm the new generation.
There's got to be a machine for that, right?
It's got to be.
We're just smarter.
I just can't afford one.
Yeah.
Are your boys farming with you?
Yeah, and that's another great thing is working with our boys, and getting them out there. I mean, our kids, every one of them, Knox is 7, Trexon's 10, Maddox is 12. Every one of our boys have learned to drive a truck at 5 years old, and they're good at it.
Right.
And we rely on them to drive the trucks and with the trailer and, drive tractors and equipment here and there. And,
Probably trust them more than I trust myself.
yeah, I mean, really, they learn responsibility, and we have to have responsibility, and
Right.
they're
Well, they're learning how to work.
Yeah,
There's
they're
so
learning
many
how to work.
kids. They're not learning how to
they
work.
still try to
nowadays.
get out of it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're
That's
good
being
at getting
a kid.
out of it. They know how to.
They don't love the work yet.
Yeah,
I'm saying
Well,
yet.
that's the thing. No kid's gonna love it, and you want to teach them how to negotiate, so that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
They're learning all sorts of skills down there,
yeah. There you go. You can look at it that way.
right? And you had boys. That's
Yeah, it's
How old's your oldest?
12.
12. So he's not old enough yet to start thinking if he wants to farm yet then.
I think if you asked every one of them today, they'd say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, is it pumpkins or because no.
They like the pumpkins?
No, they're
don't
tired
like
of
it.
They don't want to pick them.
Knox would be my farmer. That kid, he's 7 years old and he is a working fool. That kid can work. He'll outwork his older brothers any day.
If we need something
cool.
done, we call the 7-year-old.
Yeah.
That's no lie.
Yeah.
Gonna make yourself indispensable, right?
Yeah. Our 10-year-old treks and he's pretty smart
Right.
and he
Gets
thinks
the
about
7-year-old to
things.
do all this stuff for him.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
And he gets out of work really easily. Well, Mom, don't you need somebody to watch Rev? Yeah, I do actually. Okay.
Yeah, he's got his future planned out. He's going to do something big because he doesn't want to farm, he said.
That's so
It
funny.
could totally change.
But it can change it.
Right.
Definitely. Definitely.
When he was 5, he said he wanted to be, we had a friend who was a sheriff, and he wanted to be a sheriff because he just wanted to sit in his car all day.
I forgot about that.
So I feel like we veered away from the pumpkin patch a little bit. So once you got it rolling, I mean, was the idea there because you really wanted it, or was it to subsidize or, to just make some extra dough?
One, I really wanted to do it. I mean, I like building something and building it from the ground up. 2, I wanted people to experience the farm because I get such a peaceful feeling there. I honestly wanted people to come out and feel it, and I wanted to share it with them. And I also could see that the turkey farm is only going to get us so far as being able to buy the Chester farm. And so this was kind of another avenue that I could see growing into more than just a pumpkin patch one day, and maybe be something that could help us transition the farm so that we could buy it one day.
Super cool.
Well,
how did that feel when that first day when you opened up? At least that's what they showed on the on the show.
Yeah, they were there for the grand opening.
Like any bragging, like with the boy, with the hubby and the father-in-law,
They were both, him and my dad were like, okay, you were right. Like, this was a good idea. Because I honestly think, and I was a little skeptical too, like, we could do all this and nobody would come. Like, we're in Chester. There's only so many people around us.
I was going to ask that. Is that most of your customers are local in Sanpete County? Because you said you're only about an hour from here.
Yeah, and we do have some. I mean, a lot of people like to come down. It's not as busy. It's not very crowded. So we do have a lot of people come down, but most of them are, within a 30-mile radius. And they've been really good. They were really supportive. We had a big crowd on opening day. It was really awesome. Like, I will never forget that feeling because I just the whole summer I was like, oh my gosh, like we could do this show, all this work, and nobody could show up. Like, what if that happens? But we just kept doing it, and people showed up and they came, and it was amazing.
Well, and that's the thing, being a farmer is being an entrepreneur, right? I mean, because you're having to think, what new crops, is there something different I can grow or expand? Like, there's so much risk in it. And it's just because the farm's been around 40 years, it's not like the risk factor drops.
Never.
Because you just never really know what's coming. So to be able to think of an idea like that and pull it off, that had to feel pretty cool.
It did. It really did. I
think another thing that was cool about it is, like she said, I was worried people were going to come, but when they did come, and you seen those little kids, and we felt a sense of community,
right?
And we had people from Mount Pleasant, Spring City, Fairview, Moroni, Fountain Green, Ephraim, Manti, people we grew up with, we knew our whole lives, and you're seeing all these people come, and it was a sense of community, and to see the joy on those little kids' face, and it was really
that's awesome,
a good feeling of gratification for me,
and I have to remind
Jenna.
him of that every year.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Anybody copying you yet? Any farms down there?
Not close to us.
And living in a rural community like we do,
right?
It never made sense to me. Why do people have to drive to Utah County to go to a pumpkin patch?
Right.
To go to a farm-based event like that.
For sure.
It makes no sense. And so... And golly, Wasatch Front is growing. Utah is growing at such a substantial rate that I mean, it's so crowded when you come here, and the people, it's just crazy. But people very grateful, thank you for doing this. Keep doing this, please, every year. You know,
Gives
we don't
them something else to do.
So it's been great for our little community. And like the Harwards here in Springville, Jakers, they're really good friends of ours, great people. And I don't think we're hurting their business at all. We're just little, you know, we're not nothing like them guys.
There's enough room for people.
But there's plenty of room for that. And there's been a lot of other friends. We got another friend in Grantsville that did one this year, the Blacks, and they're doing an awesome one. The Larsons there in Spanish Fork are doing one. So like you said, there's so many people and there's plenty of room.
That's cool.
For more growth in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Any new ideas for the mini farm? Any new, what's the word I'm looking for? Attractions?
Well, this year we have a combine slide, which I was super excited
Yeah, the kids
about.
get to climb up in a actual combine, sit in the driver's seat,
Really?
play with the stuff, and then we got a slide going out the back.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yes,
Zip line. Zip line next, maybe?
It
Zip
definitely is. It definitely is.
Did you
I
tell
have
him
it
about that?
bought and everything, and he just needs to put the poles in the
But
ground.
we came here to do a podcast. It was on my list today.
See, that's where the 10-year-old gets it from right there.
Yeah.
Negotiating. But we got to do a podcast today. Sorry, I can't do it. No, there's one on the way. I mean, we both, so I live in Highland, you live in American Fork, but there's that one right there on the Pleasant Grove Boulevard exit.
The what?
The corn maze, like the big.
Yeah.
That place is hopping when it's
that's
open.
crazy how many
Hee-haws
people
or something like that?
Yeah, Hee Haw Farm,
that's what it's called.
is what it's called. And, you know, they got ponies out there, but there were zip lines this year. That's why I brought it up, because there were like 3 zip lines, and they weren't even very far. But, man, there were like 20 people in line for each one of them.
See,
So,
I know.
geez,
put the
Brett.
poles in the
I'm
ground.
on board. I just got to do it. Along with the slingshot, along with the wild slide, along with
The tractor tire swings.
tractor tire
That's all.
swing.
The hay pyramid.
That's
We
done.
have that.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I got a list a mile long, and it's like this every year. It's like,
Right.
man, this is going to be great. We're going to do it. But we're so busy, we always run out of time. And then at some point, I just got to say, it is what it is, and we just got to be okay with it, because we just can't, you know. lose my damn mind.
It's the time of year where I'm sure you're trying to get a lot of things buttoned up for the winter, and
I used to love October.
right.
You know, I love football. I love the hunting season.
Right.
I hate October now. I just pumpkin patch every day.
I gave you Tuesdays and Wednesdays off this year.
That's
I'm going
so
hunting
funny.
in the morning.
See, that's kind of nice. You can just hunt at home, I'm sure.
Oh, I
right?
just hop in the side-by-side, head on the mountain,
Oh, man.
and just go hit it.
You know, it's so funny. My mom lives up in Star Valley now, and you go up there during the elk hunt, and people are shooting elk off their back porches.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. I was like, you can't get any lazier
Yeah.
than that. But these are all the old-timer, like, they've been there forever, because so many elk come down into the valley during the wintertime or during the fall. And they'll just be cutting across fields, and you'll just hear boom, boom. Like, because they're not looking for trophies. They're just looking for meat, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, why work hard for it?
I had 2 really big bucks in my backyard last year. And
man.
I'd come home off the mountain, didn't see a thing all day, and I'd shine my spotlight right off my back porch. And there was like a 28-inch 4-point out there, and I'd watch him every night. But man, I go on the mountain all day, and he's in my backyard.
That's hilarious.
But I can't hunt. I got to hunt the other side of the highway. We live close to the highway, and I hunt the other side, and so I can't hunt where my house is at.
It's a smart buck.
So just push him.
Yeah,
Right.
We'll scare him over the road.
Dang.
So what's been like the biggest, I mean, has there been any change on the farm or what's gone on because of the show? Like, have you noticed anything?
I mean, it definitely helped us move the succession planning along, and sort of made us sit down and think where we really want our future to go, both us and my parents, and kind of evaluate really what we both want. So that was really nice.
Yeah.
It was good.
So
Sorry. Go ahead.
for it.
I was going to say, any new plans as far as, outside of the pumpkin patch, growing anything new?
Growing hemp.
Oh, you mentioned that earlier, and I meant to ask about that.
We grew it last year, and last year we was a little late to the party.
Right.
And we got our plant started a little bit late. We ended up growing, and they did okay. But when we decided to grow, a liter of CBD oil was going for, of just crude oil, was going for like $2,800 a liter.
Wow.
And then when it came to harvest time, it was down to $700 a liter.
Whoa.
And so these extractors, I was working with an extractor at the time. It was costing him, his overhead costs were $700 to create 1 liter of oil to extract from the biomass. And so basically he went out of business. He called me and says, hey, I still got your stuff. Come get it. I got the oil he extracted, and I got my stuff. Still have it.
And all the aches and pains are gone now.
So we lost 20 grand last year that we didn't have of our personal money that we scraped for, and it was gone. And so it's like, well, I still got some oil and I still got some product there. But so going into this year, it's like, man, I learned way too much to just walk away. I can't just walk away.
Sure.
Had a company come in that wanted me to contract grow for them, and I was still skeptical. I wanted to, be realistic about this, so we just kept it 2 acres. It's nothing big. And so I grew for them. I built a little greenhouse in the backyard. We've never started plants in the greenhouse before. And had a 96% germination rate. They did really well. We put them in the ground, and they're 7 feet tall.
Wow.
You walk in there and you can't see me. They're tall and they're budded out real good. And we've been lucky as well because it's been a warm month. Usually
Right.
we'll hit a few frosts in September.
I was going to say it has been warm.
And so it's been a good growing year for it. And we should harvest here next week. And if I get paid what I signed a contract for, it'll be profitable for us. But it's still the unknown. A lot of time you take a contract, might as well be toilet paper.
Well, right.
Well,
it's such an evolving industry. Like, I'm sure everything's changing so fast because that whole CBD thing is. Any medicinal marijuana on the horizon for you guys?
No.
No? I've heard there's been a lot of that in the news. Like, isn't that, it's hard to get a license to grow it?
Like
or,
$100,000.
Yeah,
Really?
150
It's over
grand a
100
year
grand.
to get a license
wow.
to grow it in the state of Utah. And so, and the security issues and all that,
where the
it'd
feds,
be a
it's
tough
not-
business. I don't know if I'd want to get into that one.
Dang.
Yeah, and I think they're all running on cash because you can't,
right.
you can't get a
You
bank
can't.
to.
They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big money, guys.
That's crazy.
But I'm excited for the CBD, for the hemp plant, and there's the medicinal purposes that are unreal. A lot of people I know, there's a guy with epilepsy and some people with, chronic arthritis and that, and they swear by this CBD oil
is amazing. That's a
the
booming
creams
industry.
and stuff.
Do you know what my mom swears? When Brett's been working in the hemp all day, he's much more willing to deal with her and talk to her.
Yeah. So I'm just getting more patient in my older years.
So what's the difference between just a hemp plant and, I think a lot of people think that's the same thing.
If you were to
but-
look at a marijuana plant, and I wouldn't really know because I've not really seen marijuana plants,
Right.
but they're basically the same. If you were to look at them, marijuana plant, hemp plant side by side, you don't tell the difference.
Okay.
But genetically, they're able to make it just so there's no THC in the hemp.
Gotcha.
And industrial hemp's been around the United States
Oh,
forever.
for sure.
And you go back, I just got studying history on it. Pre-World War II, I mean,
Everyone was growing that stuff.
yeah.
It was used
yeah,
for everything.
Yeah. And Ford, what
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to think of the Ford Motor Company guy.
Right.
Henry Ford built a car out of it.
Wow.
All the fabric
did?
and everything out of hemp. And hemp was this big time product. When then World War II come along, and hemp was kind of the fiber, that all the clothing and everything was made out of. And
Right.
it was the product got us through World War II. And then post World War II, there was Rockefeller and a lot of these other big business guys that figured out fossil fuels and the oils and how to make plastics out of these oils. And so then they put their money there, and so hemp kind of got put on the back burner. And then the 60s movement came, and there became a stigma around hemp and marijuana after the 60s.
Right.
And so we've got all these years, and then now we're kind of getting into that where people are getting over the stigma, and they're realizing, man, this plant
Hemp does everything.
can help so many people, and animals and people. There's so many uses for it.
Right.
So if it goes well, do you do more next year, or do you like kind of keeping it where you're at?
If it does well, I think I do 5 to 10 acres next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's that entrepreneur,
really
right?
do.
That's like
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
taking that risk. Jumping
Well,
in.
and you're probably, I imagine you're replacing something else, right? I mean, are you,
We're trying to diversify, really.
I don't know if it
it's-
takes away from anything else. I think it just throws more on our plate.
oh, okay. Because
Really.
you're still going to grow alfalfa, I imagine.
Yep.
And
It doesn't take it won't take anything away from the alfalfa or the pumpkins. I mean, it'll just kind of be its own thing.
don't touch those pumpkins.
Yeah. Don't touch them.
Don't
No,
touch
those aren't going anywhere.
She says, remember, that's the only thing that makes you money. Hemp lost you money. She keeps reminding me of that. She's right.
That's hilarious. Well, this has been awesome. It's such we need to do we want to do a at the farm episode with you guys.
Yeah, come down. Hang out.
You know what we need
Yeah,
to do is
for
let me
sure.
come down and
I've got
we'll
some.
sell some barbecue one day at
Okay.
at the deal. That'd be really
yeah,
fun.
come do it. Seriously.
I'll donate some profits to the farm.
Oh, you don't need to do
No,
that.
No,
Just
I would
come.
love it.
No,
People would love to come and eat Bam Bams.
come and
Let's
just
do it.
people will come to and help us out just to come eat Bam Bam.
See, that'd be cool. Then we can get some other food trucks to
And
come
then
down there.
while you're down,
Mm-hmm.
That'd be-
I've got a little bit of ammonia nitrate.
oh, that's
and
what I'm talking
some
about.
aluminum powder on hand.
Yes.
And
Get out there and shoot some things.
last year I know in the
I'm not going to be involved in this.
Jenna's washing her hands right now.
Yeah.
She's done.
in the
I support the food truck coming.
in the opening of the show,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, you see my gun and I shoot and
Right.
it shows the explosion or whatever. So I had a little bit then, and I did a little test run. I didn't really know how big of a boom it would be, but that boom was big. I had people in Moroni, Spring City.
No way.
A guy in our
Yeah.
ward came up to him in church, and he came right up to him and said, "You dick." I was in the shower.
He says, "Just shook my whole house."
I thought my house was falling down.
And he's in the bishopric too.
Yeah,
Oh,
But
man.
he did it. He's a jokester,
he's funny.
but it was pretty funny.
That would be amazing. I'm in. That would be
But,
such a good time.
We'll go up a little further away. We'll go up to the gravel pit where we got a little buffer zone.
God, we did that at those salt mines down in Redmond.
Yeah. Burchard. What's his name? The Burchard guy. We went down there a couple years ago.
We shot there too.
Oh,
You
that
guys do
place is. I
That
was
was
there
fun.
with the Nitro Circus.
Oh, you was
guys.
there with Nitro Circus.
Yeah,
Oh, that was the explosions you showed me those
Yeah.
videos of.
that was
So we was
much
there
fun.
just after Nitro Circus.
Oh,
dude.
really?
We went and toured that.
That place. How cool is that place?
Yeah,
That
it's
was
cool.
Man, that's amazing down there. But
Sanpete
yeah.
County.
Is that Sanpete?
Southern
Oh,
end.
that's close. then.
Redmond is southern end of Sanpete County.
Those salt mines are insane. I don't think people realize.
No, in the
what
middle of
those
nowhere
are.
like that.
Yeah, they go. So I mean, you just drive down in.
Most pure salt in the world.
It-
I mean,
I
just
love. It's my
unbelievable.
favorite salt
Great product.
for sure. So man, Sanpete County. I think I know where I'm moving now.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get the
Forget
wife-
Heber.
Hey.
You're going to San Pete.
No, Heber's not
Hey.
Heber anymore.
Let's not tell Utah County about it.
Yeah, that's true.
They're
It
already
sucks down
flocking.
there, everybody.
I'll tell you, it's crazy. It's growing.
Hey,
And
the way
we
things are
never thought
going,
it
that'll
would
be
be
Utah
discovered.
County
No.
soon. We'll just
I sure
reach
hope
its
not.
way down. So it's kind of the perfect spot because you're only an hour from here, right?
Yeah.
So make a big
It's like,
Costco run or
it's like
whatever.
52 minutes from Ephraim to American Fork if you drive just the right way.
Yeah.
Really?
I'd be driving a little bit fast for that.
Yeah.
I got really good at it.
And
when I was going to
everybody
school there.
going to Snow College, they know all about the Chester Challenge.
What's the Chester Challenge?
Hold your breath from sign to sign.
Really?
Yep. And welcome to Chester and when you leave Chester.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's basically the speed limit changes.
Right.
That's how you know.
Well, so how can we find you guys? So how can everybody find you social media wise?
Sunder Creek Farms
Okay.
and is our farm account, and then mine is Jenna S. Madsen. Yours is a little fancier. What's yours?
Oh, I don't do much with social media.
This is
Post a few here and there.
Beefmaster07.
Beefmaster 07.
Beefmaster07.
So
He's there.
yeah.
And then we have a website, sundercreekfarms.com.
Yeah, you guys have merchandise and you guys have shirts and sweatshirts and hats and it's
Is the
awesome.
is the
Yeah.
pumpkin patch open?
That was
Pumpkin Patch is open Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Holy smokes.
Come
What
to
are the hours?
So Mondays and Thursdays 4 to 8, Fridays 2 to 8, because I guess kids are out of school on Fridays in a lot of places.
Is that when you're in Nephi?
Yeah. That's when I'm at the turkey farm.
Then Saturdays noon to 8.
Very cool. Well, and that's where it's only an hour south.
Anyone local, go check it out.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Local
And we
or
have
not.
turkey legs. I mean,
Yeah,
Like
and maybe Bam
Disneyland.
Bam's one of
Yes.
these Saturdays, right?
Yes, that would
Heck
be
yes.
awesome.
That would be super cool.
That would be great.
All right, well, you guys say the word. We'll exchange phone numbers, and we'd love to come down. That'd be fun. I'll bring the kids.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
All right, well, thanks for
love
coming,
that.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks.